Hello there guys, it's me Unstable Voltage and welcome to episode 24 of Sid Meier's Civilization Beyond Earth. This could possibly be the final video of this series. It certainly will be the penultimate video if it's not the last one, because we only have 14 turns until a Transcendence victory. Our health is surprisingly good as well. So let's not mess around too much and let us go straight for a win here. Now remember, this is my very first game of Beyond Earth. Well, it is and it isn't. It's the very first game of Beyond Earth that I started. I have started a couple of games since this one, which I've already gone on to complete, because obviously it takes me longer to play through a game when I'm recording it for YouTube than it does if I can just sit down and play it for sort of 8 hours straight. Let's go ahead and do that. So this was played on an easier difficulty level, and I haven't really gone very aggressive. I haven't really attacked anyone else. I've just been very, very passive all the way through. And yeah, on the next game, I will have it on a high difficulty level, and I will be more aggressive. We'll go a bit more towards war, but we don't need to do that right away. So, just going to build some of this stuff. Just because we can build it, really. And again, this is one of those times where it proves that it's better to have more cities than less, because with the Transcendence victory, in order to actually increase the speed that the Mind Flower charges, you need to have... what is it? Where is it? It tells you in the quests, isn't it? Victories, Transcendence... build Mind Stem and Xeno Sanctuary buildings to hasten its growth. Now, I have Mind Stem and Xeno Sanctuary buildings in every one of my cities, but therefore the more cities you have, the more of those buildings you can build, and the more quickly you will win. Now, that's not the case if you're doing... The only other victory type I've actually done is the Supremacy victory, which is the Emancipation victory, where you actually have to build an Emancipation gate and then send soldiers through. Basically, you're sending them back to Earth to go and wipe out the remaining humans. Now, the thing that's weird about that is you actually have to send through not a certain number of units, but you have to send through a certain amount of... no, you have to send through a certain amount of combat strength. It's actually 1,000, or at least it's 1,000 on standard pace. It might vary if you're playing on a different pace. So, obviously you want to send through units that have as high combat strength as possible, because the limitation is you can only send one unit through the game per turn. So, it's already going to take you, even if your highest strength combat unit was 100 combat strength, it would still take 10 turns, because you can only send one unit through per turn. And most units don't have a combat strength anywhere near that, and the ones that do are usually quite slow and costly to build. And it doesn't matter how many cities you have there, it doesn't even really matter how fast you can pump out your units, because you can still only send them through one every turn. Let's go ahead and build a farm there. Explorer, you were coming here, and you can't go in there because there is a ranged unit. We'll send you in there. And then we'll send you back out again. You can go back in. I was just picking up another module so we could attempt to go and get that derelict station or whatever it was over near those alien nests. We probably won't get it. Being condemned. Not that I really care. We're close enough to the end of the game. One thing I did want to do before we finished is show you guys the Xeno Titan, which is the... sort of top tier unit that you can get for the Harmony Affinity. We're only 2 turns away from the tech, and I can sort of buy one instantly. Look at the health now, we're at 41. It's absolutely amazing. Ion, what do we want here? Don't want to waste the Xenomass, because we're going to need some to build one of our units. Let's go ahead and get the Nano Pasture, because why not? Not an awful lot else we can do. Most of this stuff is just completely pointless. Let's just go on to R&D, really. What do you need? Don't need the garden. Get the distillery. Why not? Shredder. Yeah, you can just go back on to whatever it is you were doing before. Trade vessel can go back to where it was going before as well. Playing this particular game the way that I have, and not going for a sort of a military style. I mean, I've always done that, even in Civilization 5. I've never actually played hostile, unless I've been going for a domination victory, which is probably my least favourite victory type. I've always preferred going passive. I know sometimes you have to defend yourself because you get war declared upon you. I know sometimes that you do have to go to war because you just need to expand, or you need to get rid of a hostile neighbour before they get too powerful, or you need to take a big chunk out of somebody before they just start to snowball. But I know there are a lot of people that play Civilization, either Civ 5 or Beyond Earth, and they literally play it. They play it in such a way that every single game becomes a sort of a hostile game. Whatever victory type they go for, they're always just launching into war, and that's fine if that's the way you want to play. If that's what makes you enjoy the game, you know, I don't have a problem with that. But for me, I prefer to be more passive. Sometimes I do enjoy the battles. As you can see there, look, this sea dragon is actually orange instead of green. So it's very, very hostile towards us at the moment. So we will be taking that out straight away. That's as a result of building the mind flower, because it's trying to connect the consciousness of all the life forms on the planet together. But I actually think playing through a game of Civilization 5 passively without going to war, or going to war very, very rarely, is actually quite viable. And there's a lot to do in terms of the management side of the game that still makes it quite interesting, even if you're not at war. And the warfare's not all that interesting anyway sometimes. It's not the sort of most complex mechanics of any strategy combat ever. There we go, we have alien evolution. However, I think this has proven that trying to play Beyond Earth and not go aggressive and not go hostile doesn't really work. I think you need to fight in this game to make it interesting, and the AI hardly ever declares war on you. Something that Marbazir said last night on his stream, he's played this game for 96 hours, and in those 96 hours he's had the AI declare war on him twice. And once is because he deliberately provoked and baited the AI, and it still took them ages to declare on him. And he plays on like the highest difficulty level. So the AI is very, very passive. So we can upgrade our octopus. What is the point? See, it says it has one movement. May move one more tiles this turn. So select a perk. We can give it... Let's give it another +1 movement, because it can't move anyway. We can also upgrade our aircraft to the Shrike. Gives us an extra 18 range strength and a +1 range, plus 40% when air sweeping. We don't want it to attack scattered units. Plus 25% hit points healed after killing an enemy unit. That's not too bad, although we haven't really used them. Do have one in the city. Of course, we do have some on our carrier as well. Magan, go ahead and get that Crash. Thabo, not an awful lot that you can do now, really, is there? Let's go on to research, although we need to pick a new research. What should we go for? Climate control. Is that another wonder? Guess we could go into that, attempt to get a wonder. Not going to make an awful lot of difference, to be quite honest, because we're pretty much at the end of the game now. This explorer is going to head back over... Well, might as well try and get this one. Another one up here as well. There's quite a few around. Do get 2 modules though, which is good. You can go back onto alert now. On to the next turn. I'm playing through these turns quite quickly on this video because it would be nice to try and finish the game on this video. Obviously, I don't want to rush through it too much, but I understand that there probably isn't going to be an awful lot happening between now and the end of this game, as we already pretty much know how many turns it's going to take to complete the game. So what I'm just trying to do is literally get through as quickly as possible. As you can see on that turn, we didn't even really need to do anything. So we are just going to push through where we can. Keep my eye on the Mind Flower just so I can see how many turns we are off from a win. 7 turns. We've been at this video for less than 10 minutes. There we go, we've got communications.
I didn't understand that.
Requires level 2 in supremacy, so we can't build that. Arrays are tile improvement. Actually gives you +1 science and +1 +1 science and +1 energy, but also gives you +1 orbital coverage as well. Production in Ion. We could build a command center, give us some extra hit points. Why not? Let's just do it because we can, and I've got nothing better to do. Plus 10% city health from Soma distilleries, or plus 5% culture. Let's take the 5% culture because we already have a massive amount of health anyway. We're only one turn away from getting another virtue. Not that we really need one again. Let's carry on just keeping these workers busy, really. Don't have an awful lot for them to do right now. Quantum computer, plus 5 science and a free technology. Still not the most amazing wonder in the world. They just lack character. They're not as much fun as building, you know, the Eiffel Tower and the Statue of Liberty and the Leaning Tower of Pisa and all the good stuff that you get in Civilization 5. Stuff that you've heard of, stuff that you may have seen and may even possibly have, you know, gone to visit. And that you actually have pictures and they have a history and a culture behind them, as opposed to just being some made-up futuristic random pseudo-building with a sort of a grayscale blueprint. It just doesn't sort of grip me as much as Civ 5 does. Now, I know it sounds like I'm hating on Beyond Earth, and I'm really not, because I have enjoyed playing the game. I do still enjoy playing the game. I like it. But part of me is a little bit disappointed because I think they could have made it so much more. Evolved Roctopus. Can you actually... Now it can actually move. There we go. The Roctopus can move now, but it couldn't move before, and I have no idea why. Obviously it was moving along the road, so it was moving quicker than it normally does, but no idea why it wouldn't move before. Maybe it has to go... Maybe it's not an orbital unit anymore. Maybe you have to launch it and then it takes X number of turns before you can use it. I wonder if that's how it works, because it's not an orbital unit anymore now. Look, it's not actually on the... Well, it is kind of on the orbital layer, I suppose. Launch orbital... right. Okay, that was it. I screwed it up. So, normally, it is a land unit like it is now, and it's able to move around on the map like this. However, you can launch it for other reasons, which I've now missed because I've moved it. I'll check that out on the next one. Let's do the command center. Let's go ahead and get that extra strength against the aliens. Again, we don't really need it, but let's take it anyway. Another worker that has done its thing. Really struggling for you to do things. We could go ahead and connect up that kiting, but there's no point because you're too far away. Actually, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, you're too far away from any city to work it. Go ahead and do something with that. Take you a few turns to get there. On to the next turn. So yeah, it was my own stupidity. I actually managed to launch it instead of moving it. It's because I knew it was an orbital unit, and my instinct with orbital units is to just, you know, shoot them straight into space. The first thing you do with them, usually. So let's have a look at that again. You see, now it's actually a ground unit that I can select. Launch orbital unit mode. Launch the unit into orbit at the selected tile, establishing it as an immobile orbital unit that affects the tiles underneath. It doesn't tell me what they do. I think maybe it can just shoot at people. It can also shoot down other orbital units as well. So there we go. It was just my own stupidity. So it can be launched into orbit. But at the same time, you can actually... you can't... there we go. You can move it around, but in order to shoot, you actually have to launch it into orbit. So, it's more of a defensive thing, because when you actually want to use it, for a start, it moves really slowly. I mean, it normally only moves 1 tile per turn. The fact that it can move 2 is because we've given it an upgrade. But you move it to where you need it, then you launch it into orbit, where it stays for 10 turns. And it can fire at any tile within a 2-tile, a sort of a 2-tile radius, but it's completely immobile. So it is much more of a defensive unit than anything else. There's nothing that we need here at all. Technic Hub. Do we need any of this stuff? Not really. Oh yes, what we do need is a Xenotitan. It's going to be 4 turns to build. But I think what we're going to do is we're just build an institute because I can. I'm just going to go ahead and purchase a Xenotitan. Just so I can show you guys. There it is. Can't move it on this turn. Mind Flower is 3 turns away. Good job I didn't build one, because even though it would have taken 4 turns, we wouldn't have got it before the end of the game. You guys want to get on to this site, but the aliens are making it difficult, because that's what the aliens do. Aliens aren't hostile to us anymore. It does wear off after a while, although of course the aliens will never attack our explorer anyway because of that level 1 in purity. Probably no point whatsoever in trying to get that now because we're not going to get that expedition within the 3 turns needed to complete the game. About 4 minutes left to go on this video, so for once I've actually timed it quite nicely. Choose a production at Magan. Just go ahead and get the command center just because you can. You guys still can't do anything, so just fortify. Here is our Xenotitan. Unfortunately, I can't really show you it attack anything, but at least now you get to see it. That is the end game unit for the Harmony Affinity, and it does a massive amount of damage. I've seen one of these things take half a city's hit points off in a single hit. If you've got 2 of these things, you can literally just go and take out a city. They'll also pretty much destroy any unit in more or less one shot, with the exception of other end game top tier units. So very, very overpowered. Build a mine there just because I need to keep you busy for a few turns. Roctopus, we will start moving forwards. Not an awful lot I can do with it, really. We're literally just a couple of turns away from a win here. You go ahead and construct a biowell. We don't need one, but why not? But yeah, back to what I was saying about the game. I'm not hating on it because I do actually enjoy the game. I'm just a little bit disappointed. I never expected that it was going to be as good as Civilization 5. I certainly never expected that it was going to be better than Civilization 5. But I at least hoped that it would retain a lot of what Civilization 5 had. And it does feel and it does seem like some of the bits in this game have actively taken a step backwards. And that's a little bit disappointing. You know, there may be many reasons for it, why the game... Oh, it is a stackable unit as well, which is nice. You know, there may be a number of reasons why the game feels like it's kind of unfinished, and why there are bits missing. It's certainly buggy. There are quests that are bugged. I know people who are still suffering from the bug where you can't run the game in 1080, 1920 by 1080 in full screen, which is absolutely ridiculous. It's not a problem that I have personally suffered with, but I know several people who have. I think it's something to do with having a 120Hz monitor, which I don't have. But there we go, quest complete. Completed Transcendence. As the Mind Flower opened itself to full bloom, so did our minds open to the planet whose life we had shared for so very long. There was no moment of awakening. Rather, as was the gentle rising of dawn's first light, our human experience was illuminated by the truth of what we were and what we would become. In the light we found ourselves. We are together, now, we are one, we are waiting. And we received the achievement of a Transcendence victory.
As the Mind Flower opened itself to full bloom,
oh great, so she's basically just reading what I was already saying. Now one thing you will notice here, you have the one more turn in the exit menu button, but you do not have the button anywhere to replay your history. So what we're going to do, exit to main menu, because not a lot of people have worked this out yet, because it's in a really, really strange place. But if you go back to the main menu, and then you go into Other, you will have a View Replays option. And as you can see, I've got 2 games here. This is the one we've just completed. This was my other game that I played when I went Supremacy. But if we actually click on this one here, and we can select Replay. Takes it a few seconds for it to load it in. It's a little bit strange that they've hidden it away here. One thing you don't have is the map, like you used to be able to do on Civ 5 and play back the map. But it literally does give you all of your stats in the graph. So you can see sort of building maintenance, We had more buildings than anyone else because we were paying huge amounts of building maintenance. Culture per turn, pretty much top of everybody else. Energy per turn, again, pretty much top of the curve there. Excess health. Starts off very low, of course, because the AI get an advantage to health and the human player doesn't. But we did get up there towards the end. Food per turn. I think we topped that out. I mean, obviously we get an advantage to food anyway, playing as the African Union. That was excess health. Our actual overall health was pretty much, you know, nearly always top. Improved tiles. We had many more improved tiles than anybody else. Military might. Most of the time, our military might was actually quite low. It was only when we sort of peaked towards the end when we were upgrading our units and building things like the Xenotitan and the Roctopus and stuff like that. That really bumped us up. Negative health. Yeah, we had the most negative health. Of course, the AI doesn't receive as many penalties for health. Number of cities. I wasn't even the highest. It was actually Australia, or is that the Slavic Federation? Hard to tell the difference between the colours on this monitor. Could be the Slavic Federation. But they had the most cities. It looks like they had 8. What else do we need? No, number of known techs. So everyone teched up at pretty much a similar level. There was certainly no massive spiking on the tech tree there. Obviously there is some difference between them. There's probably only a difference of a few techs. We were ahead, but not by a massive amount. Number of virtues. Again, we were at the top, but we were sort of sharing the top spot there with the Cavithan Protectorate. What else? Population. Pretty much always at the top with the population, although still can't tell whether that's the yellow line or the light green line. Easiest way to tell. Yeah, Australia. So Australia was up there near the top as well. Production per turn and massive production output, which is probably from all those internal trade routes. Science per turn. So even though I did have a massive peak in science per turn, we still weren't that far ahead with number of techs. Score, again, started off at the bottom, eventually made our way to the top, only just. Total culture, all these peaks and troughs, obviously, because you spend that culture on virtues, which is a little bit strange. Total energy, obviously we stopped spending towards the end and gained massive amount. Total land, we were pretty much up there with everybody else. So, I think it was a fairly close game in some respects. And I certainly think that maybe I didn't get off to the best of starts because it was my first game and I didn't necessarily realise how important it was to expand quickly, and I didn't know which text to take in the best order. I think now I've played a couple of games, I actually have more of an understanding of the order to do things in. And certainly next time I play, it will be at a high difficulty level. Not sure whether I'll go straight into another game, or maybe I'll leave it for a couple of weeks. See if they manage to patch some of the bugs. Maybe the modders will come in and make things a little bit better. But anyway, I hope you have enjoyed this series. I hope it's given you a bit of a look into Civilization Beyond Earth. And if it was a game that you were considering buying, if you haven't already done so, hopefully this will give you a bit of information that hopefully has been relatively unbiased, that will allow you to make an informed decision of whether or not it is a game that you want to play. As I have said before, you know, I do love Civilization. I love Civilization 5. It's a game that I've put a lot of hours into. Really enjoy it. A little bit disappointed that Beyond Earth doesn't quite live up to what Civilization 5 is. But there again, Civilization 5 was pretty terrible when it first came out, and it took a couple of expansions for it to get where it is today. And who knows, maybe Beyond Earth will get to that point in the future when it's a couple of DLCs or expansions down the line. But until that happens, it is anyone's guess. Anyway, hopefully, meanwhile, they will fix some of the issues that it has, fix out some of the bugs, and do a little bit of balancing and tweaking and things like that, and make it a little bit more of a challenge and a little bit more of an enjoyable experience. So, thanks a lot for watching, guys. I really hope you've enjoyed the series, and I'll see you next time. Until then, goodbye for now.